First of all, Madam President, let me say that I certainly sympathize with the tragedy that took place and those who lost family members. And, you know, as having 20 kids and grandkids myself, I'm probably in a better position to sympathize with that than many others are. I have to say that I think somewhat of a disservice is being done to some of these families. It's almost like saying we are looking at legislation that would have prevented that from happening, and that's not the case. Or we're looking at legislation that would preclude something like this happening again. And I listened to my colleagues on the right side, the Republican side, and on the left, the Democrat side, and they all have good ideas, and they all are sincere in wanting to do something. And maybe I'm looking at it too simplistically, because I look at the Second Amendment, I look at what historically has been our privileges in exercising our rights to keep and bear arms, I mean, since the very beginning. Then I see, and I've lived through on the state and on the federal level, all kinds of efforts of people to think, well, we can do something about gun violence, and let's do it by background checks. Let's check everybody out there. Let's do it, and let's approach the gun shows. Let's talk about all these things that could be done. We could restrict the number of the cartridges and the magazines and all these things. But it's all predicated on one assumption, which I can't buy. And that assumption is that somehow we think that the criminal element will single out this one law to comply with. Now let's look at the facts. When you look at what they're trying to do, anything that is up that we're going to be voting on the next 2 or 3 weeks, however long it takes, is going to in some way restrict the number of firearms. I think we'd all agree with that. And now, whose firearms would they restrict? They would restrict the firearms of law-abiding citizens. And that means the ratio between guns owned by the criminal element versus the law-abiding citizens is going to change. And when they talk about the background checks, I can't imagine anyone being so naive as not to know that if the criminal element's going to get a gun, they're going to get a gun. Yeah, sure, they'd kind of like to have some of these restrictions. They'd like to have the background checks, because that eliminates the numbers of guns in circulation. And so the criminal element's the only one who's not affected. I was asked the question not long ago about this. It was on a national TV show. I was actually down at the border at the time, the Mexican border. And they asked the question, they said, you know, how can you be so wrong, and or why is America so wrong? And he talked about a poll that was taken where the results were 90-3. And the question that was asked, do you believe we ought to have stronger background checks? I said, fine. If you were to ask that same question, 90% of the people, by the way, answered yes, we need to have stronger background checks. But if you ask that question, do you believe that we should have stronger background checks on the law-abiding citizens and not the criminal element, then I can assure you it'd be like 99 to nothing the other way. And that's the thing. That's the one thing that people just overlook. You can pass all the laws that you want, and the criminal element is going to sit back and smile. Is anyone naive enough not to think, not to believe, that if they're, regardless of background checks, a criminal element can find someone who can go and get a gun, make $100, and they have a gun. But the ratio changes, and not in a healthy way. So in a way, I think it's a disservice to an awful lot of people who have had tragedies in their lives to believe that we're doing something that is really going to change that, when in fact, I don't believe it is. With that, I'll yield the floor and suggest the absence of a quorum.